Welcome back to Bob's Garage. This is part 2 of the Toyota Sienna control arm bushing. I didn't even know there was going to be a part 2. But here I am. I'm doing a frame repair that I did not want to do. Let me show you what I got. Let me turn it around here. Okay. That's the frame. Right at the top of the control arm bushing. It's bad. Really bad. I didn't even want to fix it. But I don't know. I just whatever, I'm doing it anyway. But anyway, I made a template. So this is my template. Just made it out of a old pizza box actually. And I cut it out of some steel. I cleaned that all up. I cleaned the frame up. Cleaned it with a wire wheel on my drill. Okay, and it did a good job. But I wanted it a little cleaner. So I sandblasted it. Anybody that has one of these siphon-fed sandblasters, they know they work okay. They do a great job at making a big mess. But I sandblasted it, and then I hit it with the wire wheel again, just to make sure there's no sand stuck in anything or anything like that. So now I'm going to put my plate on there. That's what the plate looks like on there. I'm going to put the nut down on it to hold it in place. And I'm going to snug it up. Just a little bit. Just to make sure it's completely seated. Looks good. And I'm going to weld it on. So I'm going to weld it on, and then I will bring you back and show you what it looks like. All right, we're back. It's welded in. Let me show you what it looks like. That's it. It's all done. I'm very confident that those welds are solid and that this is going to be a good repair. But it's very important. A couple things that are very important. One is you want to make sure your metal is clean. You don't want to try welding over rust. It's not going to be a strong weld, especially in an area like this. I couldn't even see a lot of what I was welding. I was just welding and hoping I was welding in the right spot. So if there were some areas that I didn't weld really, it didn't end up being really, strong. What does weld strong, I want to make sure it's really strong, if that makes any sense. The areas that I really was able to get to, I want to make sure it's really strong. So you got to make sure the metal is clean. But what I did was I used a pair of small vice grips because I couldn't get a good ground. I threw some vice grips on there and I used that for my ground. I put a couple tacks, and then I removed the nut and lowered the bolt, and then I was able to just move this around wherever I needed, and that made it very easy. But that's what I did there. The couple tacks were strong, they held it, and like I said, I removed the nut and lowered the bolt. The other thing that's very important is you want to make sure you disconnect the battery. You don't want to throw a voltage spike to the computer and blow the computer. That's a lot of people don't do that, and they are able to weld things and nothing happens, and that's great. But for me, I'm going to disconnect the battery. If I can, I'm even going to disconnect, unplug the computer. But that's not really necessary. But when I disconnect the battery, I disconnect the negative and positive, just because you're there. You only have to disconnect the one, but you're there. You might as well do both, just to be sure you're good. But that's it. This was a very quick video, just because all I'm doing is finishing the control arm. So, all right, that's it. Have a good one.